Deciding who to marry is one of the most difficult choices someone could make, so naturally, the choice is all the more terrifying to make in Skyrim. I mean, at least in real life you can divorce someone if you don't like them, but in Skyrim, love is lifelong. So, in today's video, we're going to make sure the guards don't come questioning you about the mysterious death of your spouse and rank all the wives in the game to see who's best for the Dragonborn. Number 26. Priestesses of Dibella. Orla, Senna, and Amwem are as holy as they are bitchy. These three women become open to marriage after completing the Heart of Dibella, but I would strongly discourage you from tying the knot with these priestesses. Being the holy women that they are, the priestesses won't tolerate any crimes. Hell, they'll probably be the ones putting bounties on your head in the first place. On top of that, these women are pretty clear in that they're worshippers of Dibella first and your spouse second. These women are notorious for remaining at the Temple of Dibella, despite specifically asking them to move into one of your homes. And since there are no beds in the temple, you can say goodbye to the lover's comfort perk. When you consider that these followers also aren't followers, you'll realize that they're functionally useless as spouses. So, unless you're role-playing as a Dibella zealot, there's absolutely no reason to marry any one of these priestesses. Number 25. Viola. Viola is hands down the most annoying spouse in the game, and a runner-up for the most obnoxious character in the entire game. This silver fox is found in Windhelm and is unlocked as your spouse after solving the city serial killer problem. But why you would choose this nonagenarian over all the other bachelorettes is beyond me. Not only is she old enough to be most players' mothers, but it's also clear that Windhelm has taken a toll on her. Despite being an Imperial, Viola has all the smarts, or lack thereof, of any other Nord. Though her efforts to stop the Butcher of Windhelm are commendable, the downright idiotic theories that she boldly explains to the guards do nothing but muddy the waters. From blaming the Dark Elves to thinking the weather has something to do with the murders, Viola insists on being Windhelm's biggest moron. And for a city full of Nords, that's impressive. So, unless you really like Viola's house, or just have a thing for older women, then I'd suggest getting far away from Viola. Number 24. Temba. If you're looking for a kind and soft-spoken wife, then Temba's not the spouse for you. Found in the mountain village of Iverstead, Temba's as hot-headed as they come. She hates bears almost as much as Ulfric hates logic. She's also extremely judgmental. I mean, here I was building a house from scratch in the beautiful wilderness, and the first thing she has to say is how dangerous it is to live outside city walls. And if this is how condescending she is with the Dragonborn, just imagine her with the kids. Overall, Temba has a strong personality. Some might say too strong. She's without a doubt going to be freaky in bed, which you may be into. But I prefer getting my lover's embrace bath without having to be tied up, gagged, and punished. Number 23. Aerie. Although marriage in Skyrim is about as complex as first-grade math, Aerie might be the most boring person on the entire list. This Nord lumberer can be found spending her days working at Anger's mill, and if you collect enough firewood for her, she'll begin to fall for you. She might not be the prettiest lady in the land, but she does have a nice place in the pale, and her hard-working attitude is sure to make your kids hardy. But Aerie has one problem. She's incredibly boring. It feels like Bethesda created a wife that was made to have the closest resemblance that a human could to a piece of cardboard. She has no unique quests, barely any dialogue, and her personality is as dry as dust. She's not exactly unlikable, but I just can't see any reason why someone would decide that Aerie is the one. Number 22. Avrusa. Avrusa doesn't really have much going for her. The fact that she's managed to grow and cultivate Nirnroot, a plant famous for not being able to farm, is commendable. It almost justifies her horrid mug and decrepit voice. Now, I know that love is supposed to be blind, but when the biggest difference between spouses is their voice and looks, I'm going to take note of it. That's not to say that this dumb one doesn't have merits. She has a kind soul and a large, valuable estate that you can live in. Considering her age, which is old enough to be the father of your grandmother, I'd say that it's only a matter of time before that farm becomes yours. But the biggest reason Avrusa is so low on the list is her quest. Collecting bear pelts for timber is one thing, but Avrusa wants an ultra-rare type of crimson Nirnroot that's only found in the depths of Black Reach. There are many things I'd do for love, but delving into an underground city to help this Nirnroot addict get her fix is where I draw the line. 21. Camilla. Marrying Camilla Valaries is one of the most newbie mistakes in the game. That's not to say that Camilla is a terrible spouse by any means. She's business savvy, kind, and hardworking. But like getting married to your high school sweetheart before your brain is even fully developed, marrying Camilla sounds like a good idea in your first couple of hours. But by the time you get to level 30 and get acquainted with the very best Skyrim has to offer, you start asking yourself why you went for this humble village girl in the first place. Was it because you actually liked her personality and company, or were you just desperate to get your sword sharpened? At least in your next playthrough, Camilla can teach you an important lesson. Think with what's up here, and not down there. Number 20. Uthgerd. Uthgerd is just fine. She's older than most of the other bachelorettes, but not to the point where you're marrying a will more than anything else. Uthgerd is also a seasoned warrior, and despite her age, she fights with as much vigor as she would have in her youth. And though she'd be a perfect lover for an equally aged dragonborn to live like they're young again together, Uthgerd is just not all that interesting, beyond that specific roleplay scenario, and because this, in tandem with her being a pretty weak follower overall, makes Uthgerd just barely make it into the top 20. And just so we're being honest, Uthgerd seems like the kind of person whose kinks would leave the Dragonborn with anything but a well-rested bonus. Number 19. Njada. Njada is definitely the most controversial spouse in the game. Some find her personality to be much the same as Tember's, while others can see that she's really just playing hard to get. The first meeting with her in Jorvaska doesn't make the best impression. She's brash, cold, and condescending to the Dragonborn, who's just trying to make a friend. But as you go through the ranks of the companions and prove your strength, Njada begins to warm up to you. And though this could be a good recipe for a companion, Njada's the last person I would want as a wife. The house will quickly be filled with mead and swords, neither of which should children be around. Speaking of the kids, they'd probably be better off begging on the street than having the Dragonborn and Njada as a parent duo. So, unless being talked down to by your wife is some weird kink of yours, I'd look for love elsewhere. Number 18. Iona, Yordis, and Rhea. Like in the followers tier list, the housecarls also get the short end of the stick in the wife department for the same reason. They're all just far too the same. All three of these housecarls are unlocked after buying a home in their respective holds. Beyond that, and slightly different look, they're virtually identical. Hell, two of them even share the same voice. Ultimately, the likability of the housecarls comes down to personal preference, and realizing which housecarl I didn't include in this grouping should tell you which is my favorite. But since these three aren't unique in any way whatsoever, it's hard to put them any higher on the list. Number 17. Hilland. Though some of the women on this list need little more than a back scratching to win their hearts, others are a little more hard to please. Case in point, Hilland. This Nord warrior is a part of the hunting party at Thirskmead Hall. Deciding to side with the Nords will lock you out of having Reiklings as pets, but you must do so for the sake of love. But we're talking about Hilland here. For her, merely taking down an entire Reikling tribe isn't enough. After regaining the hall, you'll then have to accept her quest to retrieve an additional 50 Reikling spears and give them back to Hilland. Only then will she deem you worthy as a lover. The question now is if she's worth the effort. Well, Hilland is a pretty skilled Nord warrior with a max level of 60. There's no denying that Hilland is as beautiful as she is capable. She's also one of the 3 spouses that can live with you in Severin Manor. Becoming the brother-in-law of Thirskmead Hall's leader is also sure to bring some political perks, so long as you didn't kill her, that is. But in all honesty, Hilland is asking for a lot and providing little in return. If she doubled as a follower like Morwen does, then she'd definitely be in the top 10. But as it stands, Hilland's going to have to be single for a little while longer. Number 16. Tari. Tari is the only high elf you can marry, and for good reason. These pompous mer are as eloquent as they are egotistic. She can be found running a tailoring business in solitude with a twin sister, so you'll never have to worry about being short on cash while Tari is your spouse. But this high elf clearly likes to spend as much money as she makes. Tari's decked out in fine clothes and has a judgmental attitude towards those with, let's just say, poorer taste. It might be off-putting to be a hero of the people while having a wife who critiques the fashion choices of orphans, but for the more arrogant players, this is a dream come true. So, as long as you're role-playing as a Dragonborn as self-absorbed and grandiose as she is, then Tari is a perfect match. But outside of these rigid boundaries, your love is best given elsewhere. Number 15. Dravanya. If you're looking at this list from a pure utility standpoint, then Dravanya is one of the better picks on this list. Found in the secluded village of Kynesgrove, this Dummer is an expert in alteration magic, as well as being a generally helpful person who provides the local miners with a cooling potion to beat the heat when entering the caves. Providing Dravanya with frost salts to help with the creation of said potion is all that needs doing to win her over. She may not be the most fetching spouse in Skyrim, but she makes up for that with her cold yet kind personality. And being a trainer in alteration doesn't hurt either. Overall, Dravanya is a fine pick for someone who's bored of marrying the same wives over and over again. Number 14. Gorza. Blacksmiths are going to be tough no matter what race they are, but an orc blacksmith operating in Markarth is going to be a world of hurt in the bedroom, and if that's something you're into, then Gorza's the wife for you. Gorza will become as smitten as a kitten for you after you retrieve her apprentice's book for her, so not only is she easy to please, but also cares for her employees. But like I said before, I doubt that Gorza's the type to be thrown around in the bedroom. But if you're the kind of player who likes it when the bandits punch you and could barely hold yourself together when you were bound and gagged in the game's opening, then Gorza might just be the one for you. 13. Borgak. Borgak the Steelheart is the ultimate warrior's wife. Hailing from Morkazga, this chieftain's daughter is unlike her fellow orcs. While protecting their stronghold is paramount for the other Orsimer, Borgak wants to be rid of all that and take up the adventurer's life instead. And if you successfully convince her to do so, you can become her first friend from the outside world. From there, wooing this powerful orc is merely a matter of showing your strength in battle and flexing your amulet of Mara. Not only is Borgak an excellent follower during the early game, but her likability is only exacerbated once you tie the knot. She'll shout romantic words of encouragement during battle, as well as be saddened when her favorite outlander leaves her company. Borgak, despite her strength, doesn't hide behind a veil of cockiness. For that, she's the perfect spouse for an aging warrior looking for a stoic companion by their side. Number 12. Rhea. Another companion, Rhea, was the freshest recruit into the guild before you joined, which not only makes her more relatable, but also gives her humility, something which is sorely lacking in Nyada. And really, Rhea can be seen as the opposite of Nyada. While Nyada is rude and condescending, Rhea is kind and respectful. She'd not only make for a great mother, but also an excellent adventuring buddy. And although she may be a little boring, I don't have anything bad to say about her. So, if there's something you find particularly attractive about Rhea, then I'd say go for it. Just don't look too much into her adventures with Vilkas. Number 11. Gilfra. If cougars are your thing and Viola is too insufferable, then Gilfra is going to be the next best thing. This Imperial owns a lumber mill near Windhelm and knows nothing of city life. This is all the better for me, considering I just spent 10 hours building a house in the wilderness, and it's not like she plays hard to get either. All you have to do is sell a block of firewood to her, and she's head over heels for you. And considering her age, it's not hard to see why Gilfra would want to hitch someone up as soon as possible. That's not to say that Gilfra is over the hill. A life of honest work and taking care of herself must have paid off, as Gilfra has aged like fine wine. So, if you like your wine vintage, Gilfra is the one for you. Number 10. Morwen. Morwen is the ultimate endgame spouse. Hailing from the Skarl village in Solstheim, Morwen was originally from Falkreath. However, after the death of her parents, she travelled across Skyrim, taking various jobs from soldering to mercenary work. But in her own words, she never felt at peace before arriving at the Skarl village. This makes Morwen already wiser and more mature than the competition, and it's this sensible demeanor, as well as a relatable background, that makes Morwen such an attractive choice. She may not be the greatest spouse of all time, but she's more than a solid choice for an adventurer in their twilight years. Number 9. Mjol. I already know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I'm not saying that Mjol's a bad spouse by any stretch of the imagination. She's brave, kind, and loyal to a T. If I were to stop talking about her here, she would at least be in the top 5. But marrying Mjol comes with some unexpected baggage that quickly turns into this gnawed Achilles heel. Of course, I'm talking about Erin. If you thought the adoring fan was bad, then you haven't met this insufferable Imperial. Not only will he act suspicious about the Dragonborn's relationship, but worse still, he'll go as far as moving in with the newlyweds. You can even sometimes find Erin sleeping in the same bed as Mjol. So, sorry Mjol, you're a great gal, but I like my house simp-free. Number 8. Muri. Do you think the rest of the women on this list are a little too innocent? Maybe you're looking for a wife who doesn't have a heart, is most certainly a psychopath, and is constantly at risk of murdering you in your sleep. If you answered yes to any of that, then Muri's the wife for you. This Breton works as an apothecary in Markarth. However, most players will recognize her from the Dark Brotherhood quest. You know, the one where she asks you to assassinate her innocent stepsister for no good reason. Well, after solving this problem, as Muri puts it, she'll naturally get heart eyes for the Dragonborn and be open for marriage. Despite her worrying personality, Muri is an excellent spouse for one reason. While most followers are oblivious to the dubious acts we partake in, Muri is not only fully aware, but an active participant of said acts. Not only does this make her the premier choice for evil playthroughs, but her good looks and strangely wholesome demeanor make her a great spouse for any Dragonborn. Number 7. Shavi. Despite being cold-blooded, Argonians are a race that are few and far between in Skyrim. I mean, there's only one Argonian follower in the game, and we can't even tie the knot with this guy. Instead, that honor is reserved for Shavi. And despite her look, which is something between a zombie and a ninja turtle, Shavi is one of the brightest personalities in Skyrim. Her optimism also goes hand in hand with her hard work, as she can be seen tanning the rags of Windhelm all day. So, though she'll probably frighten your children at night, Shavi will at least keep your house clean. And with her being literally the only Argonian open for marriage, you can at the very least be one of the few residents of Skyrim that can say they dated, and in this case married, an Argonian. Number 6. Brelina. For the more magic-inclined among you, choosing a spouse to keep up with your magical prowess would feel like finding a needle in a haystack. Luckily, Bethesda curated a mage who's not only one of the best followers in the game, but also makes for an excellent spouse. But don't be fooled by her innocent demeanor. Brelina is likely as freaky as they come when we're talking about the sheets. I mean, if the fact that she falls for you after becoming her personal guinea pig doesn't reveal enough about her, then maybe the fact that she's a conjuration mage should be a cause for concern. After all, an adept in that school could come up with all sorts of toys at her disposal. So, as long as you're okay with being pummeled by all manner of unholy summons in the bedroom, then I'd say Brelina would make a perfect wife for the magic enjoyers among you. Number 5. Lydia. In case you didn't think I was biased enough against Lydia in the last video, then let me enlighten you some more. Much like how we represented her in the followers tier list, Lydia is virtually no different than the rest of the housecarls. However, what makes her special is the simple fact that she's better than the rest. Where all of the other housecarls are fighting to be like her, Lydia is the real deal. So, when you include all the great qualities that these housecarls bring to the table, and add Lydia's nostalgic charm and drop-dead gorgeous good looks, you have a recipe for one of the finest señoritas in all of Skyrim. Number 4. Silja. Good people in Skyrim are as rare as guards with good knees. So, when there comes a potential spouse who's not only beautiful on the outside, but also has a heart of gold, you know you've hit the jackpot. And Silja is probably the most good person in the entire game. She's an ore miner who works on the iron ores of Red Belly Mine. Her way of life is already more honest than most others you'll meet, but it only gets better from there. She has an excellent relationship with her family and even needs you to deliver a message to them in order to become a marriage candidate. And when it comes to the potential mother of my children, kindness and honesty are as valuable as Daedric artifacts. But such qualities are a dime a dozen when it comes to Silja. With all the flattery I'm giving her, you'd think she'd have some secret that she's keeping in the closet. Maybe she orchestrated the murder of her previous lover, or she's an Imperial agent working in hiding. But such accusations would be far from the truth. What you see is what you get, and with Silja, you're getting one of the kindest souls in all Tamriel. Number 3. Aela. The final potential wife in the Companions, Aela has all the great qualities of Rhea and Nyada combined, minus all their faults. So, although she's bold and proud, she remains stoic. She also has a killer costume. She's one of the few characters in the game to don ancient Nord armor, which probably smells like death to other characters, but hey, it's not like I can smell her through the computer screen. She's also one of the most capable warriors in all of Skyrim, so although her parenting skills might be so-so, your children would be learning from the very best if they took hunting lessons with Aela. And I almost forgot to mention that she's a damn werewolf. This not only ensures the safety of yourself and your kids, but opens up so many possibilities in the bedroom. Overall, Aiel is a near-perfect spouse to have. She's confident, yet humble, passionate but composed. She's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. So long as you can forget about all the fun time she had with Skjor. Number 2. Ysolda. When this list began, I didn't think that I would see Ysolda so high, let alone at number 2. Yet, when it comes down to it, Ysolda makes for an almost perfect wife. That's right, I said it. Fight me. Not only is she an excellent spouse to have during the early game, thanks to her house in the center of Whiterun, but her openness to other races, kind demeanor, and business-oriented mindset give Ysolda all the skills and knowledge she'll ever need to raise two little scamps in Skyrim's harsh landscape. I can just imagine her teaching children bargaining and diplomacy while they're out in the market stalls. And unlike most other spouses, it's nice to know that the family is actually producing. And sure, it may be a stimulant that sits in a legal grey area, but hey, it's honest work. And sure, she should be losing points for not being able to join in on your adventures. But for me, the spouse, adoption, and housing components of Skyrim all represent a break from the chaos of the adventurer's life. No matter if you've come from fighting restless undead in tombs or talking with Daedra in another plane of existence, you can always come home to a cozy fire, a warm meal, and a loving family. And nobody is better suited to maintaining the place while I'm gone than Ysolda. Number 1. Jenassa. Who else could top this woman? When Yada tries to act tough, she probably imagines herself as someone like Jenassa. But when Yada comes off as annoying, this dark elf is the real deal. Found in the Drunken Huntsman, Jenassa is not only an exceptional follower who can slice through enemies like they're hot butter, but her cool yet confident poise make her one of the best wives in the game. Unlike other fodder, Jenassa doesn't revolve her life around the Dragonborn, but rather seems like an equal. Like a true lover, she'll never be against you, yet she'll still call out your heinous acts when they occur. She's also nowhere close to being overbearing as some of the more good-natured spouses, making her pretty easy to get along with, no matter your morals. Couple this with her unique appearance and a voice that's as mysterious as it is seductive, you have the makings of a spouse for all of your Skyrim playthroughs. There's nothing negative that I could find about Jenassa, and as a result, she takes the cake as the best wife in Skyrim.
Subscribe to Fall Damage, you milk drinker.